morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So let's get started. Last time we started with the cybersecurity threats to small medium business, and today we're going to update you on those threats, and we want you to keep security top of mind and not thinking that everything is good and you've got it covered. We have to keep working all the time. As you know, cybercrime is a huge business. The dark web has made that possible. We talked about this last time as well. It's become very easy and affordable and require very little expertise for a person to become a cyber criminal. The hacking tools are so inexpensive. They have exploit kits, ransomware as a service, and online markets, etc. As you know, the dark web is an anonymous platform to facilitate communications that can't be traced. The dark web lets users access the internet with complete anonymity and communicate without being connected to their offline identities. As we go through this talk today, I want you to be thinking about your data, your proprietary confidential data. What if it were compromised? What would be the impact? And would you even know? Even in the most basic level, say an executive's personal contacts get compromised. We've seen firsthand the stress it causes the individual, impact to their customers, possibly the relationship with the customer. It's a big deal, even the most basic kind of compromises. So let's talk about what's the challenge. Here's our challenge today. We need to protect every email, every website, every click, every shared network file, every device, every employee, every time. An attacker only needs to be right once. You know, bad actors get to see our defenses, test how to overcome the protections, and release attacks. The good guys can merely react to the latest attack vectors. It's a difficult challenge for sure. Okay, I want to start going through some of these challenges that we face today. I'm wondering how many people really understand what a bot is. It stands for Internet Robot. And what it means is that one or more devices have been compromised on your network and can now be controlled by some remote command center. And there's an endless list of possibilities of what that bot can be instructed to do. So let me simplify this for you. If I were to tell you that someone outside your company, someone you don't know, has installed software on your computer and now potentially has access to your files, your data, maybe can gain hold of your credentials, your passwords, your bank account. They might even be listening to your conversation through your PC mic. How does that make you feel? How urgently do you want to fix that? That's one of the challenges we have today. Next, exploit kits. Microsoft 2016 Threat Landscape Review said exploit kits remain a cybercrime staple against outdated software. Adobe Flash is still the primary target of these attacks, and other significant targets include Java and web browsers. Here's a stat for you. The number of outdated versions of Adobe Flash running on enterprise computers has grown 10% per year, year over year, to the point they are now on 53% of endpoints. I find that staggering. First announcement I want to make today for Krantz customers. We've added capabilities and we're providing third-party patching because we see this vulnerability and we have to react to it. So that's going to include Adobe Flash, Reader and Shockwave, Apple iTunes, QuickTime and Safari, Google Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox and Thunderbird, Oracle Java, PDF Creator, and Skype for Business. Okay, it's just part of our service, no cost or anything. All right, let's continue. Ransomware continues to increase dramatically. We've talked about it. Everybody's talking about it. As we've discussed, it used to be just encrypted files. Now it can encrypt your database applications, backup, and all flat files. Well, what's been happening recently is sometimes all that is being used as a divergent strategy. All the effort to recover from this debilitating attack obfuscates the fact that they have embedded code that is stealing credentials and confidential data, their real target. The Verizon data breach investigation report stated an average of 4,000 ransomware attacks per day, representing a 300% increase since January of 2016. Trend Micro stated that there's been a 750% increase in the number of ransomware families, types of attacks. Fighting ransomware, effective security awareness training combined with simulated phishing attacks to show employees the creative way phishing scams may present themselves is a very necessary part of security strategy today. I'm just going to give you a few examples of the kind of things your employees will learn from just looking at a red flag of an email. The from is a stranger or out of character. Be concerned. If the include group has a group of people you don't know or it's an unusual mix of people, be concerned. If you receive an email that you would normally expect to get during business hours, but it was sent at 3 a.m., well, that should be a red flag, don't you think? If the subject line doesn't match the content or a recipient for something you didn't order, or I'm sorry, a receipt for something you didn't order, don't open it. Any attachment you're not expecting, don't open it. Don't click on a link or open an attachment to avoid a negative consequence. That's a big gotcha, you know. Everyone needs a solution for ransomware. We're going to introduce a couple of things later on in this session. Okay, let's talk about credentials. 80% of hacking-related breaches leverage either stolen passwords and/or weak credentials. Credentials are the most coveted prize. Hackers want to use credentials more than anything else. In a study of phishing attacks performed by the Verizon Data Breach Investigative Report, 91% of those attacks were after credentials. There are 4.2 billion email account credentials identified for sale, not even including the fake data. And 76% of the people will use the same passwords for most, if not all, of their websites. I have to admit I fall into that too. Okay, this is a huge issue. We're going to talk about this later as well. I just want to make a point about password managers. It's important technology, but both OneLogin and LastPass have been compromised. So while there's a lot of benefits to password managers, we feel emphatically that it needs to be used in conjunction with two-factor authentication. Too vulnerable by itself. Okay, just a quick mention. We've talked about this before, I believe. A drive-by download, going to infected websites. You no longer have to click anything. Just going to the site can corrupt your desktop. Very dangerous. Next, potentially unwanted applications. I don't want to spend much time on this, but I just want to mention, you ever notice when you're downloading something, there's giving you opportunities to, add another application or two? Stay away from that. Get what you need and don't touch the rest. That's how malware gets spread. Okay, next one and last one here. Traditional antivirus protection is dead. It's estimated that there are 390,000 new malware samples every day. Next generation AV is essential. The fundamental problem with security, especially in the SMB space where they don't have some of the really expensive tools available, solutions are looking for something known, a known hash, IP address, vulnerability, or behavior. Ultimately, hackers are able to use enough masking technology and techniques to bypass the security. From our perspective, the endpoints are now the new perimeter, meaning any trusted device that accesses the internet, the internal network, is a potential conduit to your business. Just look at the numbers of attacks out there. It's just incredible. It's impossible for a traditional AV to keep up to date. So we've made it a priority at Krantz to identify a next generation endpoint protection. We hope to have it ready for this webinar, but it turns out we've had a busier summer than expected and we've not finished our testing and documentation. So I'm just going to highlight the capabilities. It's pretty incredible and very complex, so we want to make sure we get it right before we release it. It combines file-based malware protection with dynamic exploit detection, which will detect and block unknown malware and targeted attacks, and this involves dynamic behavioral analysis. It has automated and timely mitigation, including quarantining a file, killing a process, disconnecting an infected machine, or even shutting it down. Quick mitigation during inception stages of an attack will minimize the damage and speed of remediation. Malware, as you know, will often create, modify, or delete system files, registry settings, and configuration settings. Next generation endpoint protection must be able to restore an endpoint to its pre-malware state, okay, while logging what changed and what was successfully remediated. Undo ransomware in a couple of clicks. Provide real-time endpoint forensics and audit trails. I hope you're excited about this as we are. More to come very soon, I hope. Okay, but problems don't end with technology. We've been through some of this bit. We are the risk. It's a lot easier for the bad actors to attack employees than well-maintained infrastructures. Again, as I just said earlier, you attack your PC, your laptop, you bring it into the office, you've given them access to the network, potentially, of course. Understand the primary goal of hackers is to gain access into your network any way they can. From there, it's exponentially easier to achieve their ultimate objectives. And what's our problem? We are just terrible at password management. We use the same passwords many times. Strong password policies are not strictly enforced by our employers. We use easy to remember passwords that are easily stolen by brute force hacking tools. We share passwords. Good. Please note that many attacks start with stolen and compromised credentials. Passwords and the people who create and use them will remain the biggest weakness for the foreseeable future. We're also victims of social engineering. Phishing attacks and CEO fraud continue to be a major attack vector. As you know, it's a manipulation to trick people into divulging confidential information or providing access to funds, etc. It's said on the right side of the screen, the Verizon 2016 data breach investigation report revealed a shocking 30% of recipients open phishing messages and 12% click on attachments. That's really bad statistics. How do we stop this problem? Too many people still click on links they shouldn't, open attachments they weren't even expecting, click on buttons that promise special offers or cure a virus they don't really have, enable macros on Word and Excel documents. Again, I want to emphasize those macros that's how Office applications become carriers. It's those macros. Please be careful. Gartner quote, many of the most damaging security penetrations are and will continue to be due to social engineering, not electronic hacking or cracking. Social engineering is the single greatest risk in the decade ahead. So in our last session, we said this was coming. Now it's fully out, our KST security awareness training. It's a process. You know, we train, we fish, and we analyze. We train, we fish, we analyze. We send reminders. We get people thinking about what are the vulnerabilities, thinking about security. And as you can look on the right side, the statistics are just awesome. We've partnered with a company called KnowBe4. They have over 12,000 organizations using their systems. And these statistics are right from there. An average of going from 15.9% click-through rate down to 1.2. That's fantastic. That's what we need to do. An internal staff that is educated on cyber threats can spot a phishing email a mile away and won't fall prey to CEO fraud. Effective security awareness training combined with simulated attacks to show employees the creative ways phishing scams may present themselves has proven time and again to be very effective. So in order to make this more attractive, we've made a couple of changes to our program for you. If you sign up before the end of the month, we'll provide a 6-month program as opposed to a year. We'll waive the program setup fees and reduce the per user rate from $8 to $6. So just for an example, a 25 user company for the 6-month program will only cost $900. A very, very worthwhile investment, we believe. We've got another announcement for you. Monitoring the dark web for compromised credentials. First, look at a couple of these stats. 80% of hacking-related breaches leverage either stolen and/or weak guessable passwords. 4.2 billion email account credentials are identified for sale on the web. Verizon data breach investigator report, study of phishing attacks. Okay, I already told you, so I won't repeat it. So basically, what we found is a monitoring service that monitors the dark web for your credentials, scouring millions of sources, including botnets, criminal chat rooms, peer-to-peer networks, black market sites. And I've looked at it for my own company. I've looked at it for some others. It's real time. We'll be able to see and know if somebody's credentials are compromised. It's extremely affordable and valuable. We're reducing the price to $75 per month. There's one caveat. I need to get a bunch of people signed up in order to leverage the best rates we can. So we're going to be looking at it. And if you would like us to do a test scan of your domain, please let me know. I'll be happy to do that for you. So from here, I just want to run through some of the basics that we went through last time. I've enhanced this particular slide. I just want to keep security top of mind and where some of the weaknesses fall. The essentials of secure infrastructure. The network must be well managed. Patching, virus protection, backup solutions, and your firewall diligently kept up to date. Use geo-IP filtering on your firewall. That's helped a lot for the people we put that in place for. And it should be a next generation firewall with perimeter malware protection today. Earlier firewalls didn't have, some of the Cisco's, et cetera, didn't have malware protection, advanced security services on them. Those need to be replaced today if you're still using them. Most of our clients are not. So we absolutely have good backups, both on-site and off. And again, next generation endpoint protection is becoming critical, really critical. Strong spam filtering system and content filtering in place, a proactive effort to add incremental layer of security to meet neat security challenges. As you can see, we're trying to stay on that. An annual external vulnerability scan, just say if there are any new vulnerabilities, we can close them down. Remote access, as I mentioned, we feel that two-factor authentication is essential today. Again, cybersecurity and user training. Cybersecurity insurance, if you don't have it, get it. I also want to point out that the cybersecurity insurance vendors are part of your incident response team. You call them right away if you have an incident. That's what they're there for. They're experts. They're going to get involved right away. So it protects you on multiple levels. If you don't have a cybersecurity policies and procedures manual, we need to get to work on one. You should have that, and you should have a written and tested business continuity plan. Okay, we're going to move through some of this pretty quickly. These are just reminders. Mobile device security, mobile's increasing rapidly. You must have remote lock and remote wipe capabilities implemented on your devices. And if your device supports encryption, use it. Smartphones, have you thought about how valuable your contact information and email is to cyber criminals interested in crafting spear phishing attacks? And remember, even text messages can be spoofed. Bluetooth, viruses can spread via Bluetooth. Hackers can use Bluetooth to connect and compromise phones. Turn off Bluetooth when it's not needed. Disable automatic pairing, please. Set your devices to non-discoverable. Wi-Fi, I hope everybody's aware of this stuff. Anything you send over insecure Wi-Fi may be intercepted. And always turn off Wi-Fi when it's not in use. Don't allow your devices to auto-join any unfamiliar networks, and don't send sensitive information over Wi-Fi unless you're sure it's secure. A couple of internet security mindsets. When shopping online, you check for the website security status. That HTTPS is critical. Don't do any transactions with banking, et cetera, if it doesn't say HTTPS. And it should have one of those closed padlocks there too, which means GeoTrust has confirmed that the security is up to date. I mentioned drive-by downloads. No site is safe. And again, are you backing up your personal computers at home? We're taking care of your business, but don't lose your data. Internet of Things. Just a reminder, there's all this talk about the Internet of Things, all these devices and smart home, et cetera. The IoT devices have very weak or no security, and they're not patchable. So, once the bad guys discover a vulnerability and exploit it, it's scary. In a corporate environment, it's best if these devices can be isolated on its own subnetwork so it doesn't have visibility to your critical data. Again, just a reminder that today's printers look a whole lot like PCs. They're another device, they're another endpoint, they're another target, they're another way into your networks and getting to your confidential data. It's the data we want to protect. And that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. Thank you everybody for attending today. If you have any questions or interested in anything we talked about, here and available. Have a great day.